Hello, Mindsetters. My name is Tara, and we are here with Peter today to do some awesome maths literacy. I'm completely mad about maths, so I'm so excited for this lesson today.
Well, that's great, Tara. We haven't met before. This is
No,
absolutely
this is the
great.
first time.
Absolutely. I used to have a dog called Tara.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, but I think you're a little more intelligent than what she
I
was.
would hope so.
I hope so too, hey. How's it, folk? Great to be back. It's Thursday, and you know what Thursday means? Thursday means it's quarter to Friday, and it also means it's time for mathematical literacy. So that's what we're going to do today.
Awesome. I'm so excited for this. Let's get going.
Right, let's get going. So what are we doing today, folk? It's quite simple. We are going to look at a section of our in the finance, okay? And we're going to particularly look today at VAT as well as tax. So it's quite an interesting section. It can get quite deep. And normally, we tend to find a few VAT questions in paper 1. There can be some difficult ones in paper 2. And the tax normally comes into that paper 2. Okay, remember that paper 1, we're just looking at skills. Paper 2, we look at the application. All right, so what are we going to cover today? Let's have a look. So firstly, in today's lesson, we're going to introduce and cover various questions relating to VAT, relating to tax tables, and obviously personal tax. All right, before we discuss anything, let's show you our challenge question for today. And it's quite deep, eh? It really is. In fact, let me tell you a little secret. The challenge question you're going to see now is a question which I put into my matrics exam paper, their prelim paper that they wrote this very day. Ooh. So I'm sure if they're watching, they're thinking, oh, why wasn't this show on TV last night? It would have helped us. Okay, so here's the challenge question. Devon, age 67, earns a taxable salary of 14,300 Rand a month. With the use of the tax table found below, show that his monthly net salary is less than 13,000 Rand a month. Now remember, the net salary is the amount of money that will be placed into his bank account every month after the tax is deducted. Okay, and there we give you the tax table. And folk, at this stage, you should be able to recognize those tax tables. Okay, you should be able to see a tax table and have a rough idea of what it's all about. And we'll explain that later on in the show. Please remember that besides the tax table, there are also some tax rebates. And again, we'll discuss that later in the show. Okay, so let's get on with it. To do this, I'm going to move over there to Tara, and her and I are going to have a little bit of a discussion. She doesn't know what's going to happen, though, okay? So it's going to be quite exciting. All right, Tara, can I come to you?
Of course.
Right, so here I am by Tara, and at this stage, our poor producer didn't know I was going to come here either.
Okay,
so
I know, I like the
hope
spontaneity.
we're both in the shot here. Okay. All right, Tara.
Right.
So in my hand, I have some money. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I've actually got 200 Rand.
Okay.
Cool. So I'm going to give you 200 Rand for today's show.
Okay.
Are you happy with that?
Thank you.
Okay, cool. She's happy.
I'm happy.
So can I just turn this down a little bit so people can check us out?
Of course.
All right. Okay. So here is the 200 Rand.
Right.
Right? I promised you 200 Rand. Cool. And here is the payment for today's show. Right? Okay. Do you have a problem with that?
Yes, it's either a trick or it's black magic. I can't quite tell.
Okay, wow, what's going on?
This is only half of what you told me.
Okay, it's only 100 Rand, isn't
Yeah.
it? Okay, but I'll show you what happened. Here's 200 Rand, 100, 10 Rand, 20, 20, 50. Okay?
Right.
So here's the whole 200. Hold it.
Okay, got
Okay,
it.
you happy with it?
Got it all.
All right. Now, from that 200 Rand, there's certain bits I've got to take.
Okay.
Okay. So you pay medical aid.
Okay.
So I've got to take 50 Rand away.
Fair enough.
All right, cool. You pay something towards your pension, so I'm going to take 20 Rand away from you.
Got it.
Are you happy with that? Okay. Then I'm going to take another 10 Rand because I think you should donate it to the SPCA.
Always thinking about that.
Cool. So now you have 120 Rand left after I've taken off all these deductions.
Okay.
You happy?
Yes.
Okay. But I'm taking another 20 Rand because this 20 Rand has got to go to the tax man.
Always.
All right, okay. So although you started with all that money, you kind of only left with 100 Rand.
Yeah.
Okay. So something's happened with the other 100 rand. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Awesome.
Okay. So first of all then, you hold on to the 200.
Got
Every
it.
now and then the camera's going to flash onto you.
Okay.
Okay, but it's also going to flash onto me, hopefully. Okay. Again, I didn't discuss this with the producer,
Right.
so he's probably panicking.
Okay,
right
cool.
now. Right, I'm going to go back to my spot, and you just count your money there.
Okay, I'll be counting.
And I'm back here. Right. So, what's actually happened with Tara's money? Now, folk, we've got to just look at the way our tax man works. Now, what actually happens is this. The government have made a commitment. And the commitment they've made to the people is this. They've said, first of all, what we're going to do is we are going to help you with any medical that you may need. So if I get sick, I can go to a government hospital. Now, please take note, it's a government hospital and not a private hospital. Okay? This earpiece is getting in my way. I'm just going to hang it back there. Right. So I've got to go off to a government hospital. Right. If I go off to a government hospital, I'm going to pay either nothing or very, very little for my treatment. Okay? When I reach the age of 65, I become an old person. The government have made a commitment that they're going to help old people. So they are going to give what we called an old age pensioner. What do we call it? An old age pensioners kind of scheme thing. Okay. So they're going to give all people over the age of 65 a little bit of money to live off, right? But it's very little, so you can't go crazy with it. Cool? So where's this money coming from? Well, obviously, the government has to get money. And they're going to get that money from people who are working, who are earning a certain amount, and the tax man says, that amount that you earn, we're going to take a percentage of it because we've got to help the people. Okay? We got to help the country run. Right. But now, here's the problem. The problem is to supply doctors free of charge, to supply hospitals free of charge, to supply medication free of charge. It's going to cost the government a lot of money. So what the government do is they say this. Let's try and encourage people to have a medical aid. Because if they have a medical aid, they don't need to come to our government hospitals. They can go off to a private hospital. And then the governments are not paying for it. Now, in order to encourage you to have a medical aid, what the government say is this. We are going to pretend you don't earn a bit of that money. Okay? So if you hold up your 200 rand.
Got it.
All right. So the tax man, and you've got to hold it up high so the camera can see. The tax man's seeing right now you earning 200 rand.
Yeah.
Okay? But we are going to give 20 rand for your medical aid. Okay. Now the tax man's saying, you know what? We're going to pretend that Tara doesn't earn that 20 rand. So the government are going to look at the money and say, you know what? Tara only earns 180 rand. Okay. The next thing is this, that the government are saying, sure, to pay a whole lot of people 65 years and over, or 63, I can't remember what it is, but to pay these people a sum of money every month, and it's not a lot, I think it's around about 1,000 rand a month, okay, but to pay everyone over the age of 65 1,000 rand, oh, that's going to cost the government a lot of money. So the government are saying, but you know what, if they get a pension, if they're getting income from a retirement annuity, then we as a government don't have to give them their old age pension. Right. So the government say, let's encourage people to belong to a pension scheme. And so what they say is this. Now, Tara, you've got 180 rand.
180 with
if I'm the tax man, I'm seeing your 180 rand.
Yes.
But you are going to take 50 rand and you are going to give it into a retirement annuity.
Okay.
So that when you get to 65, you don't have to come to the government for money, but you can get it from that scheme. Okay.
Okay.
Now, to encourage Tara to pay and belong to their pension scheme. As a taxman, I'm going to pretend she doesn't earn that money. So remember, she earned 200. I turned an eye at the 20 Rand. I'm now turning an eye at the 50 Rand. So at the moment, Tara, as a taxman, I am seeing that you earn 130 Rand.
Yes.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the next thing is this, that the government help all kinds of charities. So a government will give a certain amount of money to this charity and to that charity just to help them out. They fund them. Okay. But if people donate money, the government don't have to give as much. So if you give money every month to a charity organization, but it has to be a registered one, Tara, I can't say, hey, psst, I'm a charity, give me some money, okay? It's got to be a registered, it's got to be recognized by the government. So let's say, for example, the SPCA.
Yes.
Okay? So I, as a government, have got to give the SPCA some money every month to keep them going. But if you give some, then I don't have to give as much. Agreed? So it makes sense to encourage Tara to give the SPCA some money. So I'm going to say, Tara, if you give money to the SPCA, I'm going to pretend you didn't earn that.
Okay.
Okay? So how much are you giving?
I'm going to give 20 Rand because I like the SPCA.
Okay, so you give 20 Rand. Right.
There you go.
So now, as the taxman, I'm now looking at Tara and saying, hey, she actually only earns 110 Rand a month. Shame the poor girl. Okay? How sad is that? Or the poor lady, I shouldn't say. Okay. Poor lady only earns 110 Rand. Now, as the taxman, I am going to call that 110 Rand a taxable salary. In other words, I'm going to calculate her tax on that 110 Rand. Hold up the full 200 Rand. Okay? So remember, in the beginning of the program, I was your boss,
yes,
and I said you would earn 200 Rand a month.
Okay.
Then we took off all these weird and wonderful deductions. Now, that 200 Rand you've got is something we call a gross salary. In other words, that's the amount my employer is saying he's going to give to me. 200 Rand. Right. When we take off all those taxable deductions, we were then left with 110 Rand. Okay. That 110 Rand is now called a taxable salary. In other words, according to me, who's the taxman, I'm saying she doesn't earn 200 Rand, she actually only earns 100 Rand. And because Tara earns, 110 Rand, because Tara earns 110 Rand as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to base her tax on that 110 Rand. So I now do the calculation, and we'll get on to calculations just now, and let's just pretend that her tax is 10 Rand. So I now, as a taxman, go to Tara. So here I go, okay? And I'm here. And
Hello.
I say, hello, Tara, how are you?
Hello, Mr. Taxman. I'm very well, thanks.
Okay, I'm not interested. Just give me my money. So I now take her 10 Rand from her, right? This amount is the tax that she's paid me. She is now left with 100 Rand, okay? And that's the 100 Rand that your boss is going to put in your bank.
Okay.
So you now got the boss, he's saying you earn 200 Rand, you run to the bank, and use only 100 Rand. Do you understand where all the money's gone?
Makes sense
Okay.
now.
Now that 100 Rand is called my net salary. Okay, so there are three types of salaries we've looked at the moment, folk. We've looked at the full 200 Rand, which we said was my gross salary.
Yes.
Okay, GROSS. Then we took off all those deductions. Okay, we were then left with 110 Rand, which we then called our taxable salary.
Taxable salary.
Okay. Taxman then said, I will take my share, thank you very much. Okay. And we then left with 100 Rand, or you left with 100 Rand. That is called your net salary. Okay. Now, folks, it's important that we know all this, because in your exam, we would like to believe that the examiners are going to be nice. Okay? And the examiners can actually give you a gross salary, tell you what your tax deductibles are, so you get a taxable amount, and then calculate the tax on that taxable amount. But hopefully your examiners this year will be nice, and they will just give you a figure and say, this is the taxable salary, how much is your tax going to be? And that's what we're going to do after the break. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, I think I need my money back.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yes,
Sure,
Mr.
gotta watch
Taxman.
that. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, guys. We're going to take a quick break. This is so much fun, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. And we'll see you in a few. Cool. Hello, Mindsetters. Welcome back. I'm so excited to carry on with this lesson, but just before we go, I'd like to remind you of this awesome competition that we've got going. It's the water game competition. You can enter online if you go onto Facebook/Learn Extra. We've put up all the links there so you can follow it. It's quite an easy step-by-step process. And it gives you the opportunity to win some great prizes, some money, some cash, which is always lots of fun. As well as putting you in the draw for some other things in case you don't get that, but it offers some great opportunities. So go have a look and please give it a try. Thank you.
Right, and don't forget, whatever money you win, the tax man's going to take some. Right, let's move on. So just before the break, we were looking at things called gross salary, a taxable salary, and then as well a net salary. Okay, so let's just summarize quickly. So gross salary, this is the amount that is earned before any deductions are subtracted. A taxable salary, this is the amount of money you'll be taxed on. It is the amount after certain deductions have been made, such as medical expenses, retirement policies or pensions, and even donations. Now, guys, I do need to stress, I've really simplified this whole thing. Tax can actually the deductions can get very, very, very complicated. But for us in our matric level and for our exams, we're trying to keep it as simple as we possibly can, okay? The other thing I do need to stress, which I just heard about it during the break, was this. If you donate donations, okay, we told you it's a tax deductible. Do you know that Mindset, our very program, is a recognized,
Yes.
what do you call it? Recognized benefit factor, whatever the
I've
case
forgotten
is.
the term, but
yeah, whatever the term is. But in other words, if you donate money one day when you're working to Mindset so that we can continue broadcasting to reach thousands of young people in matric out there, that the tax man will pretend is something you're not earning. So it's a tax deductible. All right. That's kind of exciting.
That is very cool.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right. Then a net salary. This is the amount of money that gets deposited into your bank account after the tax has been deducted. And then we've just got to learn about one more thing before we start looking at different problems, and that's this whole thing called a tax rebate. Now, a tax rebate is the amount that is deductible from the initial calculated tax amount. In other words, the tax man's going to say, every year, when your tax gets calculated, they're going to subtract a certain amount off that tax amount that you owe them. Okay, and we call that a tax rebate. And the reason the government do that is this. If I'm not earning a lot of money, okay, and my tax for the year comes to around about 11,000 Rand, the tax man's going to say, yes, like, you know what, this poor is not earning any money. We can't take that last bit of money away from him as well. So they give you back a certain amount of money, or they don't really give it back to you. What they actually do is they take it off the amount that you owe them. All right, and we'll look at that in more detail. Right, folk, I said to you that this section can come into both paper 1 as well as your paper 2. Let's look at a type of paper 1 question. Now, we get different types of tax, eh? There's all kinds of different types of tax, but one of the types of tax that you come across almost on a daily basis is something called value-added tax, or what you know as VAT. And in South Africa, VAT is an amount of money charged on any luxury that you buy. What do I mean by that? Well, if I buy brown bread, the government are saying, you know what? Brown bread is not a luxury. It's a necessity. People need bread to survive. So because they're buying bread, we're not going to charge them any tax on that brown bread. However, if I go off and I say to my wife, Ish, I'm tired of eating bread. Let's chow chocolates for supper. Okay. Now, chocolates. You like chocolates
I
as
like
well?
chocolate.
Yeah, you must meet my wife. I'll tell you what. Scary. Okay. Not she's scary. The fact that she likes so much
sure,
chocolate
that
is
was
scary.
live. Be careful.
Sure, gotta be careful, yeah. All right. So the fact that I'm now buying chocolates, guys, chocolates is a luxury. I don't have to have chocolates to survive. And because of that, I'm going to pay VAT, all right, on those chocolates. It's the same thing if I buy a car. To have a car is a luxury. Right? Not everyone can afford a car. So if I buy a car, I've also got to pay VAT on that car as well. Right. So VAT in South Africa is 14% of the value of goods that I buy. Let's have a look at this question. Nice paper one. A squash racket cost 450 Rand before the 14% VAT is added. How much VAT must be added? Okay, so I decide I'm going to be fit and I'm going to play a bit of squash, right? To play squash, I got to have a squash racket. Squash racket, this particular one that I want, costs 450 Rand. But it hasn't, the VAT hasn't been added to that 450 Rand. That's kind of illegal, hey? Because nowadays when you go in the shop, you see the price, it's got to include that VAT, okay? But let's say I've got this 450 Rand and I've now got to add the VAT. All right. Now, guys, this is a very basic little calculation. All I'm going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to try and find a pen. There we go. And I'm going to say I'm going to find 14% or 14 over 100 because percent means out of 100. So 14% of 450 Rand. Okay? And I'm not going to do that. Why am I not going to do it? Because my mind is very, very small. That's something you'll learn about me, Tara, okay? Very, very, very small brain. So I use a calculator. For every single calculation possible, I use a calculator. Besides the fact that I have a very small brain, I also make a lot of careless mistakes, okay? The worst careless mistake I ever made in my life is I called my wife by the wrong name for the first 2 weeks that I knew her. And she never, ever corrected me.
Oh.
Terrible. What a horrific mistake that was, folks. That was a huge careless mistake. We now been married 13 years. In fact, on Monday, it was 13 years. My giddy aunt. Okay. Feels like forever. Okay, no, I didn't say that. So, 13 years we've been married, right? And in those 13 years, every time she gets angry with me, she says, do you remember for the first 2 weeks? Yeah, but anyway, that's a long... No, we never fight. Luckily, we don't. Yeah, I'm scared of her. I just agree. Okay, so... careless mistakes, that's why I use a calculator. We really digress in this program. Okay, so here we go. 14% means 14 over 100. I'm going to multiply that by the cost of that racket, which is 450 Rand, which gives me a total of 63 Rand. So this amounts to 63 Rand. Okay, that's an R, by the way. It went all wrong. All right. Now, what will the squash racket cost after the VAT is added? That's a bit of a giveaway. They use the word added. In fact, the fact that they're using the word added is telling you that you're going to have to add the VAT to what it originally cost. So it cost me 450 Rand. Well, that was the actual value of the racket. I'm going to add the 63 Rand to that, and I'm going to now land up with the amount of 63 plus 450 Rand gives me a total of 513 Rand. So my cost of my racket, when I get to the till, the woman behind the till is going to say, you owe me 513 Rand. Okay, I'm going to die of a heart attack and an absolute nightmare paying that, but that's the amount I'm going to have to pay. Nice paper one question. Nothing hard about it, and I'm sure it's something you've been doing since grade 10. Now, let's take it a step further, and let's now look at our next question. All right. And this now we're tending to look at a bit of a paper 2. Could still come into paper 1, because remember in paper 1 there are always those, what's it, I think about 5% or 10% of the paper has to be like level 3 questions. So there's nothing to stop examiner from putting this into paper 1, but normally we tend to find it in the paper 2. Let's have a look. A television set is advertised at 6,270 Rand inclusive of the 14% VAT. What is the cost of the television before the VAT was added? Now, folk, before I do that, I'm going to go back to this question, and I'm going to show you a little bit of magic. All right? Now, there's a huge mathematical explanation for this, but I don't want to go into it. Just remember the following. I'm going to show you this number. 114 over 100. Okay? Now, 114 over 100, if I take the amount that squash racket cost, which was 450 Rand, and I multiply it by 114 over 100, I want to show you what happens. Let's move this calculator. I'm going to say we got 450 Rand. We're going to multiply it by 114 over 100. Now watch what happens. I get an answer of 513 Rand, which was the amount including the VAT. That magic number, or magic little fraction, 114 over 100. So if I'm trying to find, if I give you the price, and I say, what is the price if I still got to add VAT? I'm going to multiply that by 114 over 100. Now let's look at the next question. The next question says this. Television set is advertised at 6270 inclusive of VAT. What's the cost of the television before the VAT was added? Right. Now, do you remember that 114 I told you and said it was a bit of a magic number? I'm now going to introduce you to another one. Instead of 114 over 100, we're going to flip it. 100 over 114. Okay? So I want you to remember this. 100 over 114. Okay. I'm now going to do the sum, and I'm going to do it the way that more than half the country did it 2 years ago in a final exam, right? And half of them got it wrong. So I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to show you why it's wrong. Now, a lot of you will look at this and say, gee, this is so easy. All I'm going to do is I'm going to find 14% of this amount of 6270, and then I'm going to say 6270, that's an R again, minus this amount that I get. So let's do that. And this is what a lot of people did in this exam. They said, right, we've got 14% of 6270, okay, equals, and they get an amount of 877 Rand 80 cents. 877 Rand 80 cents. Then they say, well, let's just subtract it, because then we will know how much that TV cost before the VAT. Okay, so we're now going to say, right, cool. We've now got this, what's it, 6,270 Rand. We're going to subtract 877 Rand and 80 cents, and we land up now with an amount of 5,300, I've forgotten that number already, 92 and 20 cents. So people say now, sure, I finished that sum. It was so easy. And when we mark it, we say, hey, I marked this wrong. It was so easy, okay? Because, guys, what have we done? We have found 14% of this amount, not 14% of the amount that the, what are we buying here, TV actually cost. Let me show you what I mean by that. If I take this amount of 739,220 and I multiply it by 114 over 100, let's see what actually happens now. Okay, there's our amount. We multiply by 114 over 100, and we get an amount of 6,147 and 11 cents. 6,147 and 11 cents. Now, guys, our TV didn't cost that. Okay, we said our TV cost 6,270 with the VAT, and so something went horrendously wrong here. And that's because if you are trying to find the value of goods before the VAT was added, Guys, we cannot find 14%. Because if you're finding 14%, you're finding 14% of the total that's already including the 14%. So you're doing it twice. Okay, so what do we do? If I'm trying to find that value of those goods before the VAT was added, I remember my magic number. So it cost, what did it cost us? It cost 6270. 6270. Now, if I wanted to add the VAT, I multiplied by 114 over 100. If I want to subtract the VAT, I'm going to multiply it by 100 over 114. Let's see what happens. So I've now got, clear all those horrible figures, 6270, multiply that by 100 over 114, and I get an answer of 5,500 Rand. Okay. Should I prove to the viewers I'm right?
Please.
Okay. Let's find 14% now of this 5,500 Rand, and then see if we land up with 6270. What do I do with this if I want to add the VAT? I multiply by 114 over 100. So let's do that. There's 5,500. Multiply that by 114 over 100. And guys, we are hoping to get 6270. Let's see if we get that. Okay. I'm going to push equals. And there she is there. 6270. So I've taught you a very valuable little thing here. If I'm trying to, if I give you the value of stuff and I say, what is the cost of that if I've still got to add VAT, I multiply by 114 over 100. If I give you the value of stuff with the VAT and I say, right, now, what was the cost of that before the VAT was added, I'm going to multiply it by 100 over 114. Okay, just a little nifty way of remembering that and being able to do that question like that. All right. Do we have any questions at this stage?
No, not at the moment, but I hope that everyone's taking part. I mean, I would love to hear what you think, and we can try help you out. So please get onto Facebook and send us some questions so we can see what we can do. Or just comments, anything you'd like for us to do. But would you like to carry on?
Yeah, let's carry on. Okay. So we've dealt with that. Now, let's start looking at this tax table. And we're going to take a break in about 2 minutes. But before we do that, let's just get ourselves accustomed to this thing behind me called a tax table. Right. In our tax table, we have something called tax brackets. Okay? In other words, if I earn anything below 160,000 Rand, I belong to tax bracket number 1. Okay? If I earn, let's say, 350,000 Rand a year, sure, that would be nice, eh? If I earn 350,000 Rand a year, I fit into this tax bracket, right? Because 350,000 is between 346,001 and 484,000. Now, you will notice that I've used the words annual. I haven't said if I earn a monthly salary. I've said if I earn an annual salary. And this is important to remember because so many matrics make this mess in the exam. Guys, this table refers to my annual income, my annual taxable income. Right. Hold up that, and oh, I've got your money. Okay, let me give you your money. How much was your taxable salary?
110.
There's your 110 Rand. Okay, cool. So if that's your monthly taxable salary,
yes,
how would we calculate your annual taxable salary?
I don't have... No.
Okay. How many months in a year?
Oh, multiply by 12.
Multiply by 12. That's how easy it is. So if you earn 110 Rand a month,
Okay.
okay, if that's your taxable salary a month, shame you can't even buy a big loaf of bread with that. But anyway, if you earn 110 Rand a month,
Yes.
as far as I'm concerned, the tax man, in a year, I can't work out your tax on this table because this table is referring to annual tax. So I've got to change that to annual. I've got to pretend I'm giving you your whole salary in one shot. That's why we get our tax year. That's why the tax man only wants tax from you at the end of a tax year. He can't suddenly try and sort out your tax after every month. But to make life easier for you, what happens is this, and you'll see it now. Your employer will work out your tax for the year and divides it by 12. So at the end of a year, you don't suddenly give everything in 1 month. You've been paying a little bit every month just to help you out. But that's important, annual taxable. And then we get a rate of tax. So once we know our annual tax, we then know what rate of tax we can charge you or work out your tax with. Okay.
That makes sense.
I think we're going to have a break and then we'll do one of these.
Okay, perfect. We're going to have a quick break and we'll see you right afterwards. Welcome back, Mindsetters. We are doing some financial maths here with Peter. We've put up the challenge question. If you want to have a look at that, it's on our Facebook page, which is on facebook.com/learnextra. So you can have a look at that, see if you can try answer it. Perfect.
Right, folk, and that's exactly what we're going to do in this next 20 minutes. We've only got 20 minutes left of the program. Time goes quickly, doesn't it?
It flies. It's so much fun.
And Shreya's always moaned that I never get to the challenge question. So let's just go straight for it. The nice thing about this challenge question, guys, if you can do this challenge question behind me, you can do any question related to tax, because it's probably the most complicated one you could ever come across. Okay, so let's have a look at it. So Devon, age 67, he's quite an old man, earns a taxable salary of 14,300 Rand a month. Right, stop, straight away. Okay, why must I stop once I've read that? Tara?
Because it says earns a taxable salary
of
14,300 a month.
A month. And what's the problem with a month? Folk, the problem with a month is my tax table works on a year. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is say, hey, that 14,300, that is not good number. Let's get rid of it. How are we going to get rid of it? We're going to change it to a year's figure. So we're going to say, right, he earns 14,300 Rand a month. To change it to a year, it's times 12. Please take note of the following words. Hey? He earns a taxable salary. In other words, all those little weird and wonderful deductions have already come off. The only thing that's still got to come off this salary now is the tax. 14,300, and we're going to multiply it by 12 in order to see how much he earns a year. So that's what we're doing. Let's clear our calculator, and we're going to say 14,300 Rand, multiply that by 12, and we get an answer of 171,600 Rand. That's how much he earns in a year as far as the tax man is concerned. Okay, now that we know how much this boykie earns in a year, we can now work out what tax bracket does he fall into. Let's have a look at that. Remember, we're looking for 171,000 Rand, just over 171,000. Where does it fit into? Well, here's up to 160, here's up to 250, so it's going to be tax bracket number 2. Now, tax bracket number 2 says, if you earn money, any amount of money, between 160,001 Rand to 250,000, this is how we're going to calculate your tax. We are going to take off 28,800 Rand straight away. Yes, that's a lot to take away, okay? But that's what we're going to do. Then we're going to take away some more. And we are going to take away 25% of every Rand that you earn above 160,000. So let's write that out, okay? We're going to say, cool, our tax is going to be 28,800 Rand straight away, plus 25% of the amount above 160,000. So 171,600 minus, let's just confirm that, it is indeed 160,000. So minus 160,000. Okay, why am I minusing 160,000? Because remember, the tax man's already going to nail me with 28,800. He's going to also charge me 25%, not of my full 171,000, but 25% of every rand above 160,000. So how do I work out how much more I'm being paid than 160,000? Simple, hey? 171,600 minus 160,000. Let's do that. So we're going to say, cool, we've got 171,600. We're subtracting 160,000. Another naught equals, and we get 11,600. So we are going to pay the tax man 28,800 rand plus 25% of, what was our figure? 11,600. 11,600. Okay? Notice we're not paying the 25% of the whole 171, just of the amount above 160. So it's just of 11,600. Are we clear on that? Okay. So now let's calculate what is 25% of 11,600. So we're going to say, cool, out comes our calculator, and we're going to say 11,600 times 25%, or 25 over 100, equals, sorry, and we get 2,900. So 2,900 rand. And that's over and above the 28,800 rand. So how much tax am I going to have to pay the tax man? The 28,800 plus that 2,900. Again, our calculator is going to do that for us. Plus the 28,800, and we get an amount of 31,700 rand. Okay? So that's how much I've got to pay the tax man for that year. But, hold on. Everyone thinks the tax man is horrible. He's actually not. He's kind of a nice guy. Okay. Why do they always call it a tax man when it's an organization? No, it's horrible.
They just want to identify it as one person so they can pick on him.
That's right. I think that's true. Hey? Okay. So let's make a few changes here. Right. So the tax woman. All right. No, I'm going to get into trouble here. I'm not going home tonight. I promise you. Okay. So 31,007. The tax man's going to say, you know what? We're going to give you back some money. How much are we going to give you back? We are going to give you back a rebate of 11,440 rand. So minus 11,440 rand. Okay. But hold on. The tax man, or in this case, the tax woman, is being very, very nice and saying, oh, shame, you know, Devon, he's an old chap. He's 67 years old. We're going to give him back some more money, right? How much are we going to give him back? Let's have a look. If you are between 65 and 75, so if you're 65 years and older, you're going to get an additional 6,390 rand rebate. So 6,390 rand. So not only are we taking off the 11,440, we're also taking off 6,390 rand. If you were even older, like my mother-in-law, sure, she's old, eh? Yes. 84.
Oh, wow.
That's old, eh?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, she's still driving, or used to drive.
Wow.
Until last Monday when she wrote her car off. But anyway, so if you're really old and you're 75 and older, look what the tax man does. He says to you, we are going to take off an additional amount of 2,130. So if Devin was 75 or 76, not only would he lose the 11,440 as well as the 6,390, but he'd lose another 2,130. You know what? Our government's nice to us. I don't know why people are complaining. Okay. So let's work out, but Devin can't get this, eh? He can't get the extra 2,130. Why not? Because he's not quite...
And he's underage.
Yeah, he's underage, absolutely. You know what I mean? What can I say? Okay, so that's how much tax we're going to nail him with. So my calculator comes out 31,700, I'm just shifting that, minus 11,440, minus another 6,390 rand, equals the tax Devin's got to pay is 13,870. 13,870 rand. Sure. But have we been working with monthly or yearly, annually?
We've changed it to yearly.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's not paying 13,870 rand a month. He's paying 13,870 rand for the whole year, folk. Okay. Now let's read what the question actually asks us. Because the question could say, what's his annual tax? It could say, what's his monthly tax? How would I get this 13,870 back to months? Okay, what would I do? I would divide it by 12. Remember, when I worked with months and got to a year, I multiplied by 12. When I've got a year and I'm trying to get it to a month, I'm going to divide it by 12. But we're not sure what to do yet, so let's read what the question asks us. The question says this. Okay, so with the use of the tax table found below, show that his monthly net salary is less than 13,000 rand a month. Hello, hello, hello. So we don't want to know about our yearly salary. We want to know about our monthly salary. So folk, let's go back here. When I've got this figure here of 13,870, I'm going to divide that by 12. So there it is, divide by 12, and my answer is going to land up being 1,155 rand 83 cents. Would you remember that? Because I won't.
Okay.
1,000. I'll remember the 1,155.
Okay.
Right. So here we go. 1,000. I forgot.
1155.
There we go. 1155, comma
83 recurring.
83 recurring. All right. You see, that's the difference, eh? A man can only do one thing at a time. A woman can do 120 things at a time. It's like my wife. She can be cooking. While she's cooking, she's helping my son with his homework. While she's doing that, she's giving instructions to the gardener. While she's doing all that, she's also doing open heart surgery and everything else. When I cook, I walk into the kitchen, I close the door, I make sure no one disturbs me. If my wife does walk in, I say, Roz, I'm trying to boil an egg here. Get out, please. So, but women can do more. So it's good to have you in the studio to help us out. Okay,
glad
cool.
to help.
And we've just got sidetracked again. So 1,155 rand and 83 cents is the tax that Devin has to pay every single month. But guys, that wasn't the question, hey? The question was, show that his net salary will be less than 13,000 a month. I think it said. Okay? Yeah. Less than 13,000 a month. All right. So what is his taxable salary? 14,300 rand. So we're going to say, cool, we got 14,300 rand. That was before tax. And remember, the money before tax called my taxable salary. Right? We're now going to take off the money for the tax of 1,155 rand and 83 cents, and the leftover money will be what we call a net salary, or the amount of money that gets put into your bank account. All right, so let's do that again. Calculator's going to do the work. I'm not going to think at all. So 14,300 rand minus 1,155 Rand and 83 cents equals, and we get 13,144 Rand, 13,144 Rand, and what? And 17 cents. So, comma, 17 cents. Okay. Now, the question did say, show that his net salary is less than 13,000 Rand. And it actually works out to more than 13,000 Rand. So the question is kind of messed up, but I'll tell you why it is. All right. I was playing around with this question. And the truth is that the original question said this guy was only 28 years old. Right? But I changed it to 67 because I wanted to show you how you can get more than just the primary rebate. You can also get something called a secondary rebate. In other words, you get the money back because you're under the age of 67 or 65 or whatever it was, but you can get more. And so I changed the question a little bit, and by doing that now it hasn't worked out. That's kind of slack, hey? Shouldn't do that. All right. So the amount that will be put into his bank account is 13,144 Rand and 17 cents. Folk, if you can do that, you can do absolutely any question to do with your tax table. And I really hope it's helped you. Now, we do have some time left, which is kind of exciting. First of all, are there any questions?
Yes, we've got 2 questions. I like it when we get them so we can just clear stuff up.
Okay.
The first one is why a person who earns just over 67,000 per annum and is below the age of 65 should not pay tax, is not paying tax.
Okay. So to answer your question, this is what's happened. What's actually happened, the government have said, you know what, if you're earning a little bit of money, right, and it's so little, we really, really can't take more away from you, okay, because you're not going to survive. That's the bottom line. Should I do an example like that quickly?
That would be, I think that would be great.
Let's say I've got a job where I'm earning, should we take my salary? Okay, I earn 3,000 Rand a month. No, I don't, but let's pretend I do. So, if I earn 3,000 Rand a month, let me just try and find some space at the bottom here, okay? So, if I earn 3,000 Rand a month, that would amount to 36,000 Rand a year. Do we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, where does 36,000 Rand fit in? If I look here, it fits into tax bracket 1. It's less than 160,000. Now, when it's less, to calculate my tax, a tax man says we're just going to take 18% of 1 Rand. So we're going to multiply that by 18%. Cool? So we're going to say, right, out comes our calculator. Let's take the 36,000 Rand, multiplying it by 18%, and we're going to get an amount of 6,480. 6,480 Rand. Now, folk, I'm still a young guy, okay? I'm nowhere near my 60s. My wife is, but I'm not. Okay, nowhere near my 60s. So I'm going to get a tax rebate of how much? 11,440. So I subtract 11,440. Okay? When I do that, and I minus 11,440, I land up with a negative amount of 4,960. Does that mean the taxman pays me that? No, not at all. The taxman says the lowest you can go is 0. Okay? So although I owe the taxman 6,480, he says we're going to give you 11,000. We'll take 11,000 off that. If it gets to 0, we're going to call it quits. And that's exactly what happens here. Okay? So the rebate is there to help people who cannot actually survive on a little bit of money. I hope that answers your question. My time is up. Can you believe it?
Yeah,
it's kind of scary.
I know, it absolutely flies. I think everyone had a great time. I definitely did. So thank you so much for that really insightful lesson, Peter.
Only a pleasure.
I think it was great. I hope that you guys agree with me. I feel like you have. There's been a lot of communication, and everyone wants to know, get an idea of how it works. And I think you guys are definitely getting it. Lots of answers, which is awesome. I just want to remind you that the challenge question is online, so you can just check it up if we missed something, or if you want to just, if you weren't following, which you were. And I just want to tell you that the notes and the video are on the Facebook page as well. So you can just follow up and see if you didn't understand anything. It's great. And enter the competition. You can win an awesome Casio calculator, which we all want. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. I had so much fun today, and I hope you did too. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
I have some money, okay? And what I'm going to do is I've actually got 200 Rand.
Okay.
Cool. So I'm going to give you 200 Rand for today's show.
Okay.
Are you happy with that?
Thank you.
Okay, cool. She's happy.
I'm happy.
So can I just turn this down a little bit
Of
so
course.
people can check us
No,
out?
of course.
All right, okay. So here is the 200 Rand.
Right.
I promised you 200 Rand. Cool. And here is the payment for
Okay.
today's show, right? Do you have a problem with that?
Yes, it's either a trick or it's black magic. I can't quite tell.
Okay, wow, what's going on?
This is only half of what you told me.
Okay, it's only 100 Rand, isn't
Yeah.
it? Okay, but I'll show you what happened. Here's 200 Rand, 100, 10 Rand, 20, 20, 50. Okay?
Right.
So here's the whole 200. Hold it.
Okay, got
Okay,
it.
you happy with it?
Got it all.
All right. Now, from that 200 Rand, there's certain bits I've got to take.
Okay.
Okay. So you pay medical aid. So
Okay.
I've got to take 50 Rand away.
Fair enough.
All right, cool. You pay something towards your pension, so I'm going to take 20 Rand away from you.
Got
Are
it.
you happy with that? Okay. Then I'm going to take another 10 Rand because I think you should donate it to the SPCA. They're a
Always
good cause.
always thinking
All
about
right,
that.
cool. So now you have 120 Rand left after I've taken off all these deductions. You
Okay.
happy?
Yes.
Okay. But I'm taking another 20 Rand because this 20 Rand has got to go to the tax man.
Always.
All right, okay. So although you started with all that money, you kind of only left with 100 Rand.
Yeah.
Okay. So something's happened with the other 100 Rand, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Awesome.
Okay. So first of all then,
Hello, Mindsetters. My name is Tara, and we are here with Peter today to do some awesome maths literacy. I'm completely mad about maths, so I'm so excited for this lesson today.
well, that's great, Tara. We haven't met before, which is
No, this
absolutely
is the
great.
first time.
Absolutely. I used to have a dog called Tara.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but I think you're a little more intelligent than what she
I
was.
would hope so.
I hope so too, hey. How's it, folk? Great to be back. It's Thursday, and you know what Thursday means? Thursday means it's quarter to Friday, and it also means it's time for mathematical literacy. So that's what we're going to do today.
Awesome. I'm so excited for this. Let's get going.
Right, let's get going. So what are we doing today, folk? It's quite simple. We are going to look at a section of our in the finance, okay? And we're going to particularly look today at VAT as well as tax. So it's quite an interesting section. It can get quite deep. And normally, we tend to find a few VAT questions in paper 1. There can be some difficult ones in paper 2. And the tax normally comes in to that paper 2. Okay, remember that paper 1, we're just looking at skills. Paper 2, we look at the application. All right, so what are we going to cover today? Let's have a look. So firstly, in today's lesson, we're going to introduce and cover various questions relating to VAT, relating to tax tables, and obviously personal tax. All right, before we discuss, it's very little, so you can't go crazy with it. Cool? So where's this money coming from? Well, obviously, the government has to get money. And they're going to get that money from people who are working, who are earning a certain amount, and the taxman says, that amount that you earn, we're going to take a percentage of it because we've got to help the people. Okay? We got to help the country run. Right. But now, here's the problem. The problem is to supply doctors free of charge, to supply hospitals free of charge, to supply medication free of charge. It's going to cost the government a lot of money. So what the government do is they say this: let's try and encourage people to have a medical aid. Because if they have a medical aid, they don't need to come to our government hospitals. They can go off to a private hospital. And then the governments are not paying for it. Now, in order to encourage you to have a medical aid, what the government say is this: we are going to pretend you don't earn a bit of that money. Okay? So if you hold up your 200 Rand.
Got it.
All right, so the tax man, and you've got to hold it up high so the camera can see, the tax man seeing right now you earning 200 Rand.
Yeah.
Okay, but we are going to give 20 Rand for your medical aid. Okay, now the tax man's saying, you know what, we're going to pretend that Tara doesn't earn that 20 Rand. So the government are going to look at the money and say, you know what, Tara earning anything, let's show you our challenge question for today. And it's quite deep, eh? It really is. In fact, let me tell you a little secret. The challenge question you're going to see now is a question which I put into my matrics exam paper, their prelim paper, that they wrote this very day. Ooh. So I'm sure if they're watching, they're thinking, oh, why wasn't this show on TV last night? It would have helped us. Okay, so here's the challenge question. Devon, age 67, earns a taxable salary of 14,300 Rand a month. With the use of the tax table found below, show that his monthly net salary is less than 13,000 Rand a month. Now remember, the net salary is the amount of money that will be placed into his bank account every month after the tax is deducted. Okay? And there we give you the tax table. And folk, at this stage, you should be able to recognize those tax tables. Okay? You should be able to see a tax table and have a rough idea of what it's all about. And we'll explain that later on in the show. Please remember that besides the tax table, there are some tax rebates. And again, we'll discuss that later in the show. Okay, so let's get on with it. To do this, I'm going to move over there to Tara, and her and I are going to have a little bit of a discussion. She doesn't know what's going to happen, though, okay? So it's going to be quite exciting. All right, Tara, can I come to you?
Of course.
Right, so here I am by Tara, and at this stage, our poor producer didn't know I was going to come here either.
Okay,
so
I know, I like the
hope
spontaneity.
we're both in the shot here. Okay. All right, Tara.
Right.
So in my hand, you hold on to the 200.
Got
Every
it.
now and then the camera's going to flash onto you.
Okay.
Okay, but it's also going to flash onto me, hopefully. Okay. Again, I didn't discuss this with the producer,
Right.
so he's probably panicking.
Okay,
right
cool.
now. All right, I'm going to go back to my spot, and you just count your money there.
Okay, I'll be counting.
And I'm back here. Right, so what's actually happened with Tara's money? Now, folk, we've got to just look at the way our tax man works. Now, what actually happens is this. The government have made a commitment. And the commitment they've made to the people is this. They've said, first of all, what we're going to do is we are going to help you with any medical that you may need. So if I get sick, I can go to a government hospital. Now, please take note, it's a government hospital and not a private hospital. Okay? This earpiece is getting in my way. I'm just going to hang it back there. Right. So I've got to go off to a government hospital. Right. If I go off to a government hospital, I'm going to pay either nothing or very, very little for my treatment. Okay? When I reach the age of 65, I become an old person. The government have made a commitment that they're going to help old people. So they are going to give what we called an old age pensioner. What do we call it? An old age pensioners kind of scheme thing. Okay. So they're going to give all people over the age of 65 a little bit of money to live off, right? But